France is closing its military bases across many African countries. Why? Is this good news? Let's look at history. Many Western and Central African countries were colonized by France. Most of them gained independence in the 1960s. However, France retained economic and military ties with those countries. There was the notion of Francafrique, which is a term used to describe the economic, military, and political alliance between France and its former colonies. However, a lot of people say that Francafrique was a tool that France used to retain its influence over its former colonies. In other words, to continue colonizing them. Neocolonization. The newly independent African countries signed military pacts with France, allowing France's army to remain in those countries. France obviously wanted to protect its economic and geopolitical interests in those countries. Access to the natural resources in those countries was, of course, a key advantage that France maintained. Then there was growing resentment. A lot of Africans felt that the presence of the French troops in their countries was demeaning. Influential Panafricanist voices were heard on this issue. Look at what PLO Lumumba, the Kenyan influential academic, had to say about all this.
In the former French colonies, they even have a pact which says, we have gone, but we have not gone. We'll still remain. We'll have our armies in your countries. We'll print your currency. There are also other streams of neocolonialism, but the French one is the worst. Theirs is the more obvious and more vicious because they control all levers. They control not only your politics, they control your economics, they control your resources, they control your education.
Another prominent voice is that of Dr. Arikana from Zimbabwe, who served as the African Union ambassador to the United States. In fact, it is rumored that she lost that position due to her critical stance against France in Africa.
One other thing that France did between 1958 and 1961 in the name of giving us our independence is they said, in order for you to get your independence from us, you must sign this document. The document was called the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. And I'm going to highlight some of those issues that they said you must agree to if you are going to be independent. France said, we're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under the French name. And you may or may not know the returns. So should you want to access some of your money, you have to submit your country's financial returns. And if approved, you get to get it as a loan. You can only access up to 20% of your money year in, year out at commercial interest rates. They said all your minerals discovered, yet to be discovered, all your oil discovered, yet to be discovered. France and French companies have the first right of refusal. If there's anything left over that the French companies do not want, your people might have. They said you will only use a currency that we created for you. We call it the CFA. And that France is the only one that can print it for you. And if you start misbehaving, they just stop printing your money and your country's in trouble. They also said that France will have military presence in your country, that your military can only be trained by France, that you can only buy military equipment from France, that you cannot have any military alliance with your neighbor, and that in the event of war, your allegiance is only to France. And furthermore, because they have military presence in your country, they can invade you without notice should they feel that the interests of France in your country are being violated.
When new leaders emerged after coups d'etats in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, they scrapped the military deals and defense pacts that they had with France. Several other countries, like Ivory Coast, and Senegal, and Chad, they also decided to follow suit and cancel the military pacts with France. And there was also a growing rapprochement between these countries and Russia. These countries were turning away from the West because of disillusionment. Now, what does all this mean from a Pan-Africanist perspective? Some say this is a chance to celebrate sovereignty and self-determination. There is also worry that the gap that the French are creating by leaving is going to be filled by Russia, China, Turkey, the UAE, and the same dependency and neocolonialism is going to happen all over again. Nothing changed. In fact, some people say that a new scramble for Africa is ongoing today. For Pan-Africanists, there should be emphasis for a complete transformation of Africa into a continent that controls its destiny, manages its resources effectively, and produces security and prosperity for its people.